Hi, thanks for joining. In our previous module, we looked at creating our virtual server and connect it to the network that we created previously. What we're going to do in this module is to create a public IP address and also a DNS record and point it to our virtual machine. So yeah, we're LANet, we're cloud infrastructure specialists. You can see what we're up to on our website and also connect with us on LinkedIn. And the module that we're looking at now is to create a public IP address and DNS configuration. In reality, you would do this actually after the security rules. You put your security rules in place first, but just in the way that this was filmed, we've put this one next. Okay, so what is a public IP address? So it's kind of, again, it's a resource, so just like a virtual machine or a NIC, it's another resource. That resource has got a bunch of properties. In this case, it's a standard SKU. It's got a static IP address. It's been given an IP address, so the platform will give us a public IP address. We've given it a DNS name as well, or label, and then we've associated that resource of the public IP address to something, and in this case it's our virtual machine. It can also be a public IP address can be assigned to various things such as a load balancer, a firewall, a VPN gateway, many services. So in this case, we're just attaching it directly to our virtual machine for the purposes of this demo. Okay, what we're going to do is going to create that public IP address, and we can see the IP there. So once we configure our DNS in the top left there, we're going to create a CNAME record, which points to the DNS label that we've given our IP address. The IP address is then associated to our NIC, which then sends the traffic to our virtual machine. So let's flip over to the demo. First job is to go and create a resource. Again, it's going to be a networking resource, so we can filter it this way, or we can just do a search for it like we'll do here. So we can see the public IP address. There's also different types. You can have IP groups and prefixes and those kind of things. So go and have a look at what they are. In this case, we're just having a single public IP address. Make sure the resource group subscription is correct again. Check the region. We're just going to go for a standard one, but take a look at the links and you'll understand the difference between the SKUs and the different tiers as well, and the redundancy. So what we're going to do is give it a DNS label. So just to note, your domain name for objects like this, could be a website, could be other internet-facing endpoints, which is the public address is. It needs to be unique within the URL they give you. So in this case, nobody for some reason has got mywebserver.uksouth, etc. So we're just going to use that. Okay. We're not going to enable any advanced protection for this, as it'll have costs associated with it. So we're going to leave that out and then just add our tags as we normally do. Okay, I'm going to run the validation, check our values and look okay, we're happy with those. We've not enabled anything that's going to have a cost value associated with it. And then we'll go and take a look at the deployment. What we're going to do is attach the IP address now to our web server, so we can see it wasn't associated with anything. So we'll pick our web server and you'll see the association. Okay, we're going to just nab that. We're just going to grab the URL again and we'll go over to our GoDaddy portal. So this is an internet-facing DNS registrar. So we've registered the domain there, and we can need to create a CNAME record here. So you can register a domain. Sometimes you can get them for 1 pence, for example. But just make sure you turn the auto renew off. You can use this to then point to your record like we're going to do here. So make sure you just set up your CNAME record in this manner. Also understand what are the differences between the different DNS records as well. So you've got CNAME, you've got A records, text records, for example, and it'd be very useful to understand what the differences are and when to use them and what they're used for. In this case, we're just going to register my web plus the domain above, which is myweb.lanet.cloud, and that's going to point to our domain label that we give to our public IP address. So when somebody does a search or tries to browse to myweb.lanet.cloud, it'll get forwarded to the mywebserver.uk south URL. Now that can take a while, it can even take a couple of hours in some cases, depending which systems you're testing it from. One way I like to test it, give it a few minutes and then go to a website called centralops.net is the one that I use. And in there we just put in our web address that we want to test out. So we'll put in the lanet.cloud web address and make sure it points to the Azure DNS label that we set up, and we can see that it does there. Okay, and it's doing so via the CNAME record, and it also provides us the IP address that Azure gave us for that record, which matches this 85.210 IP address range, so we know it's going to the correct place. Okay. So some further reading links here. So understanding the different types of IP addresses, what's an IP address prefix, when would you use these things, what's the difference between a dynamic and a static IP address, and also more importantly, what is a DNS record, what are the different types of records that are available, and when would you use each type. So for example, understand what is a text record and when would you use it. When would you use an A record as opposed to a CNAME, for example? What's the benefit of using a CNAME record? And so understanding those things are really key to understanding kind of internet networking protocols. Okay, so that's that module completed already. Creating a public IP address, assigning it to our NIC, and also giving it a domain label for the public IP address in Azure, and then creating a CNAME public DNS record to point to our public IP address in Azure to make sure we're going to hit that server over the internet correctly. So the next one, we're going to create the network security rules to allow access to our server.